You good, Mary?
It's good to see the compost going.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of May 15th. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council. The first item on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, but I would like to pull two items.
Sure.
HH15 and HH17.
HH15 and HH17. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is anybody else in favor? I know we're getting comfy.
It's too early, guys. Can't follow.
So HH15, HH17, and we'll take those up at the end of the meeting.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the submission of minutes of previous meetings, items A1 through 4.
Motion to approve submission of previous minutes.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is an advertised public hearing to consider the petition of Wang and Chang, 205 Thames LLC, doing business as Baba Sushi, 205 Thames Street, request council consideration for a Class BV liquor license. There are recommendations provided by the town administrator, fire chief, and interim chief of police.
So this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Oh, it is public hearing.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Welcome.
Hi, everybody tonight. So, and my name is Wang, and from Mass. And thanks so much, you guys coming in to speak tonight.
Of course.
So I appreciate it. Okay. So this is let me tell them. So who I am. I'm from Wang from China. Came to this country from 1995, but 24 years ago, and with $300 landing in Tennessee. So, and I was working in a restaurant for such thing, and right now have two restaurants, all in Mass, Worcester and Sturbridge, named Baba Sushi. So, and about 70 people, total staffs, and a lot of work to open. It's always want to open a restaurant by ocean. When this opportunity coming, so I'm just, hey, let's do this. So come here a couple times, and sign the long names with gladding shops, and with this beautiful location. So it's just full of that, and we work forward to open this summer, and working hard for make sure my customers will be happy, and with this Baba Sushi brand. This is my goal. This is what I'm trying. And my children came here a couple times. They love this. They love the community. They love the beautiful people here. They just love here. They want to move here. Dad, can we move here? I said,
so they're welcome.
Let me ask mom first. Okay. And then a restaurant like mine needs to have liquor license and food to serve the community and the local people. So can be survive for these new steps in the business. So again, if you have any questions, let me know so I can answer right now. That be great for me and for this community and for town Bristol. Love you. Thank you so much.
Does the council have any questions at this point?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
I do too.
I'm looking I was trying to figure out the hours of operation From what time to what time you looking to operate, and what days?
So basically, 7 days a week. 7 days a week, about from 11 to middle night, or weekend to 1 or 2, depends. I really don't know. Rhode Island, Bristol, this the policy here, but I know Massachusetts is 2:30. So we open 12:30 to 1:30 there. So on the Friday, Saturdays. So hopefully you can see Bristol giving me something. Can be matched somebody else.
So I just need to be clear. So you're saying 12:30 in the afternoon to 1:30 in the morning?
No. It's from 11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
11 a.m. to 1 a.m. If you could. Yeah, thanks.
No, the menu looks very nice. Can I put an order in?
Oh, yeah. By the way, I bring my managers here, so they are there. So take that order, Rachel. Okay. Yes.
Oh, I just had it. Whenever, whoever first, doesn't matter.
Tim?
Oh, just had a quick question. First of all, welcome and thank you for choosing town. We're looking forward to having a business.
Thank you.
I wanted to just find out what are your start dates? When do you plan to?
I really like. So I'm sorry. Thank you. So really like to around the July 4th week, if we could finish this job.
July 4th?
July 4th week, or 1 week earlier. That'd be great.
Anything else, Tim?
No.
Mary?
I just wanted to ask you about the times that you would be open on the weekend. So it's sort of interesting because a lot of restaurants in Bristol that are, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but they're more like restaurants that serve alcohol.
Yeah.
They're open till maybe like 11, 11:30, 12. But more of the restaurants that have like entertainment and are more like clubs afterwards, they're open to like the 1 o'clock time. 12 or 1.
Yeah.
My impression is that you're more of a restaurant.
Yeah.
And wouldn't be open until like that late hour that you mentioned.
Yeah. So it really depends the customers. Sometimes customers, so for my experience in Worcester, Mass, lot night-time customers coming in here. Sometimes like 12:30, because a lot of restaurants are closed on 12 or 11:30. The staffs want to come down, go out, have some fun. So they come down restaurant, have a couple of sushi and a couple beers. You know what I mean? So that is the city, but I really don't know here. But I'm drive by for past 2 years here. I see some accents. I see a lot of tourists, and I just thinking if I could, that'd be a good opportunity for this business and the local opportunities and the customers, especially for the summer times.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the council? No? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, another questions?
No? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to hear. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Bristol.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. What's this council's thoughts?
I'd like to move forward to make a motion to approve the BV liquor license.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second for discussion, certainly.
Right. So at this point in time, we to establish the hours?
You would have
Is
to
this-
do that now as part of your motion, yes.
Okay.
So I'd like to share a couple of things, if I may. First is that I am in favor of granting this license. I think it's appropriate. I think it would be a wonderful addition to downtown. Our past actions as this council, going back to 2000, is to grant a limited BV license, and we did that most recently with the Bristol Buffet on Mount Hope, Prior to that was the Hourglass before it was Christians. And prior to that, there was a full liquor license granted to Gooding Avenue Grill, but that was the previous full license that was there, that if you recall, it was transferred to the Oyster Bar. So we've had our past experiences to be a limited BV, to apply a 6-month review period, and then at the end of 6 months, and I honestly, it sounds like this would be a great neighbor and a great addition. At the end of 6 months, we've approved a full liquor license, or at least listened to, and assuming that everything is nice and good neighborly, that we would have a full license. So that would be that's our past practice. Number 2 is that our past practice has been that for restaurants and new facilities, including the Portside Tavern, we approved an 11 o'clock close time. Again, I think this is a nice addition. I think it'll fill a gap that doesn't exist right now. But the 11 o'clock seems more appropriate to me on the weekends. I know that there's other places open till 1 o'clock, but I'm concerned about the sound traveling over the water to the neighbors, and I'm also concerned about that additional 1 o'clock traffic for the police department and others. But I know that our past practice has done those things, and that's what I would be in favor of.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm open to your suggestions, and I think you have a very valid point on the risk standpoint. As far as the precedence goes, the only factors that I'd like to bring up to my colleagues and open to discussion is just that we do have the ferry coming in, we do have a lot of road work, we have a lot of different construction, so businesses are being hampered a little bit. There's a little bit of a different situation as far as economic development goes, so I just don't want to cause any more pain by limiting the liquor license on this, but I am open to my colleagues' suggestion only just due to some of the factors that are going to be coming down the pike for our town and for our businesses. So I don't know how my other colleagues feel on it.
Jim, can I just ask you, what is your thoughts about the closing time? That is more of a question to me than the type of liquor license, because I think the place is relatively small.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's going to make that much difference, whether it's limited or not, but I'm curious about what other people think about the closing time on the weekends.
I think, if we set a standard for the rest of the restaurants that are in town, I think we should continue that. You know what I mean? I think
like the 11, 11:30.
11:30, yeah. I don't know if you agree, Mary, but I think it's only being fair.
Mm-hmm. So like, would it be like 9:30 or 10? What did you say on the weeknights? Like 8 or 9 o'clock on the weeknights, or 9 o'clock on the weeknights, and
I heard the gentleman say 9 o'clock in the weeknights, and then later on the weekends.
Right. So maybe the 11, like whatever the other restaurants was. Portside 11 or 11:30.
11.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I could just
Sure,
say
Chief.
about the police department. We'd be concerned about a new business down on the waterfront and the type of sound that this could create and the issues that could create down on that waterfront, being with the restaurant down there. So we'd be concerned about it with the hours. We believe that 11 o'clock would be an appropriate time based on the sound. And we can come back and review this perhaps in 6 months or so, but that would be the police department's recommendation.
So then in your thing.
So 11 o'clock. And to be very clear, I'm happy to review this in a time in the near future, and if I call it a good neighbor, but if there's no issues, then I'm happy to consider longer hours.
So do we have a motion right now on the floor?
We have a motion and a second without specifics in regards to times.
I think Tim needs to just add the time.
So it was for the motion was for the full BV license.
That is the motion currently.
Correct. I just haven't specified the time, Councilman Lay.
Yep.
So,
And it's critical in the motion that you specify the time.
Okay.
So let me ask it this way. Is there any objection to an 11 o'clock closing on, it sounds like our weekends, unless my council disagrees, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 11 o'clock closing, those tends to be the later nights?
So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 p.m.?
I didn't include Sunday, but I'm happy to have this discussion.
And then, in addition, after 6 months, then we'll revisit that.
Yes.
Yep. And this is the same standard by which Portside Tavern was held to.
Yes. And I use Portside as an example because it was the most recent, not for any other reason.
Do
Do you want to?
No, I'm sorry, we closed the public hearing, so.
And just for my colleagues' clarification, so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday would be, the closing time would be what? And what was stated, 9 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 p.m.? Okay.
But I'm happy if the owner of the restaurant wanted to come and respond to that question for clarity, I'm happy to talk with him.
Hi, everybody. So, we would like a closing on the 1 o'clock, but we really don't know the culture this town yet. That's why we would like to go until 11. We are new. We don't know this location. We want to try a little bit of time, around a year or 6 months, see how the marketing goes. If a customer would like to sit down longer, we would like to serve longer. If they want to go earlier, we close earlier. That's why we just request this. Just think about this. That's all. All right.
So
thank you.
Just so we're clear, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday closing would be 9 p.m. Is that your understanding? We just want to make sure we're communicating.
And I would like to ask if I close on the 11.
11.
Yes.
Monday, Tuesday,
Monday, Tuesday, Monday.
Every day, then.
Every night.
Every night.
Okay.
To close at 11 o'clock. That makes it easier.
Okay.
7 days a week, 11 p.m.
If we can go to later, that'd be great. Friday, Saturdays. But if not, we can try a little bit. If you just like your decision.
I have no objection to 11 o'clock every night.
Okay.
We have consistency in other places, so.
Sure.
Could we just check in with the chief again? Do you have an issue with that being every day at 11 o'clock?
I don't see any objection to the 11
No
o'clock
objection to that.
Okay. So we have the closing time. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, so we have closing time taken care of.
So just for clarity, my motion is to approve the Class BV liquor license and with a closing time of Monday, 7 days a week at 11 p.m.
So, yeah.
And so you're going to add a review in 6 months.
And a review at 6 months.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Good.
That's my motion.
All right, second.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second with those parameters. Is there any other discussion? I'd like to reiterate that we have a good past practice, and this is not a reflection, but we said a limited BV to a restaurant owner who lived one town across. And I'm making that point because we went very clear. So I guess my objection here in regards to the full BV is that our past practice has been that way. We have a good system in place. We went from a lot of issues with a lot of places to pretty much no issues anymore, and I think this is part of it. I don't think it's the only reason. But the precedent I think that we're setting right now is uncomfortable to me because it moving forward, we're pretty much going to say that we're okay with a full BV. If that's what if that's what the council's okay with, just to be very clear.
Could I just go one quick question to the chief?
Correct. Just to clarify, that was the police department's recommendations. We recommend a limited liquor license, provisional, at this time. Due to the fact that it's a new establishment, we don't have any history in town. This way we can kind of see how things go and review this at a later time.
Did you look into if there were any issues in the other towns?
We did. We contacted the Worcester Police Department, and there were not any issues.
Good.
Okay, that's good.
Good. Is there any other?
There was one more establishment too in Sturbridge. Is that where it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did not see that on the application. I thought it was just Worcester that we had.
But there were no issues in Worcester?
There were no issues.
Yeah.
No issues?
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay.
And they have a full liquor license at the establishment that you've checked out.
Correct.
Great. That's good news. That's positive.
Is there any other conversation?
I'm comfortable moving forward with this. I think that when we have these businesses that are coming over here, it's a lot of work to get off the ground, and certainly if you're serving sushi and everything like that, I think a lot of people will be coming there to eat sushi and then maybe have a cocktail or something like that. And so I'm good moving forward with this.
So I will say one more time that I do believe that you sound like a wonderful business owner. I think you're going to be a great addition, and I am in support of your restaurant and you getting a license. I'm just not in support of the full BV for all the reasons that I stated. I'm concerned about the precedent, not for you, but just moving forward and what we're saying, that there is no grace period besides the review period that we're talking about right now. But unless there's any other dialogue, we have a motion and a second to approve a full BV with a closing time every night of 11 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? For that reason already stated. I know it sounds funny, but congratulations. So we really do mean it, too. I think you're going to do a great job. So.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is agenda item C1. This is from the Director of Community Development regarding the Harbor Management Plan and Ordinance, the 5-year update. This is the first reading and call for a public hearing on June 5th.
What's this council's pleasure?
I move that we ask for a public hearing on June 5th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next is C2, Ordinance 2019-01. This is to establish a disabled veterans tax credit. This is the second reading for adoption.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We're going to take a moment to have a little discussion here, and Steve Scuba's here. I'm sure he'd like to share something. I'll start with you, Steve, please.
Okay. Just for some clarification, this ordinance specifically says disabled veterans tax credit. And the $250 that's in here was actually going to $350. So I don't know if this is a typographical error or what, but it has always been $350. It had been presented as $350, and it was approved by the council a year and a half ago at $350.
No, I think it might have been higher.
It's actually, my recollection does reflect what's in front of us of the $250. I remember having some dialogue, Steve, about this when we had I don't know if it was a special meeting for it or a workshop for it, and I know that was part of the dialogue. In fact, a couple of council people, if my memory is correct, Mary had brought it up about different possibilities of moving those base fees up, base exemptions up, my apologies. But this was the number that we ultimately got to, and I recall, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me here, but there were dialogues after that meeting, and there was dollars that were, there was a graph and a breakdown of all the numbers given to our previous tax assessor, Chris Belair, and those numbers did not reflect the $250. And I recall a conversation after that, but if I'm wrong, please, if someone could give me clarity, I'm looking to the tax assessor, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you. At the time, we did discuss the...
Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Sorry.
That's okay.
At the time, we did discuss the exemption going up for the base exemption. The main point we were trying to get to was to get the disabled veterans exemption up, and we were going to speak about the flat exemption at another time. That was not approved at that council meeting.
So for Steve's point, do we have any reason to think that is other than the $250 that's stated on here? Has it been there? Maybe I can ask it this way. How long has it been $250? And I don't expect you to be able to tell me 14 years, but...
A long time.
One second.
It's been $250 for quite a while.
Okay. All right. Steve?
Well, when I came back from Vietnam in '73, it was $250. That $250 right now is probably equivalent of over $1,000. So to up it $100, and mind you, I had submitted packets to all council members, not once, but twice, of the stuff that I wrote up, including the forms that could be used. And it clearly stated on that form, $350. And that's what we brought up initially, and that's what it has always been. Now, the packets were given to the council. Then I heard council people don't have them anymore. I resubmitted them. So I don't know why it's staying at $250. $350 is more than reasonable for a guy that has no disability whatsoever, and that is roughly 87% of the veterans in the state of Rhode Island.
Please.
Mr. Scuba, thanks for showing up today, and thank you for your service. Do you know approximately how many veterans in Bristol that we have? How many disabled veterans that we have? Because if we know that it's like 100, then we know that it's adding another certain amount of money onto the number that we have here of $52,000.
Councilman Lay brings up a good point. In fact, this was brought up we spoke about this. I don't recall what the numbers were, but this was part of our dialogue at the workshop.
But the dialogue at the workshop also had the people that they projected as all being at 100%. Well, if 87% of the state has no disability whatsoever, technically, I think the last figures that I had, 0.2%, were 70% or better. But that only takes into consideration, disabled veterans, because a regular veteran is only going to get the $250 or the $350, whatever you had decided on. But we agreed on the $350 because that's not a large increase.
So we have two options. One is, well, for myself, if there's questions on this is in my part of this we all agree is very good. Maybe we have a little difference in regards to the base exemption, but everything else we're all very much on board. If there is a question here, then I would ask that we just continue this to the next meeting. Let's get clarity to make sure that if Steve Scuba is pointing out a truism here, let's get it fixed. And if it isn't correct, let's make sure that we have the clarity that we need. So we're passing an ordinance that we mean to pass.
Can I ask a question for Ms. DeMeo? So you do have the $52,600 right here, that the increase in exemption, so total $52,600. So you must have had a certain number of disabled veterans that you know that we have.
Yes.
How many do we have?
We have about 100 disabled veterans.
Okay.
We have about 1,000 veterans. So that $250 flat exemption increase to $350 would be about $100,000 increase in exemptions on the tax roll. The $52,000 is just for the disabled veterans.
Yeah. So So $52,000 for the disabled veterans. If we have 100 disabled veterans, then it'll be an extra $10,000 if we apply the $350 base tax rate to them. We have 1,000,
right?
So it'll be 10,000. Yeah.
100,000.
It's $100,000.
Mary?
I just wanted to, so I'm trying to recall this. I can't recall completely, so I would like to go back to find those minutes exactly. Because on one hand, the 100,000 discussion sounds familiar, but I also hate to believe that we didn't increase the regular veterans exemption at all. I mean, did we have a discussion about maybe going like even $50 more? I feel like we had a discussion about what to do about the base, because if that's the majority of people, they're basically not getting anything. You said since 1973 it's been $250. That's
what I know of, but the form that I filled out then.
And I know you gave us all that stuff. I mean, I looked in my drawer to see if I had it here, but I don't have it here. But I think we need to find those minutes, Lou, and everyone, and go back through that. I mean, are you saying that our minutes?
Copy here. I don't.
Oh, you have the minutes?
I don't. No, that's what I was looking for.
So I think to all the points that have been made, we want to make sure that this is the ordinance that that is in front of us that we meant to pass. So there's no reason, unless anybody has objection to it, that we not continue this to our June 5th meeting. That's our next meeting. We'll get the minutes that we talked about in clarity in regards to that base fee. And if something needs to be adjusted, if we talked about doing that, happy to take a look at that, of course. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue the Veterans Tax Credit Ordinance to the June 5th meeting.
Second. There's a second for discussion.
Just for discussion, then, if we continue this to the June 5th meeting, I know that our ordinance here says it shall take effect July 1st. Do you think we'll be able to still meet that July 1st
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's the next
passage.
budget.
Okay,
It's the
right.
next budget year.
Right.
Just,
I
it'd
mean-
be good if we got this done by the 4th of July, I think, so,
Sure.
yeah.
And you know,
When the
as
tax
part
bills go out.
of those records, you need to look at your budget. There's a big difference between the 52 and
see
the
the
150.
152,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
The only other clarification that I don't see straightened out in here is that anyone that is rated at 80% or better could potentially be paid at the 100% rate by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So that would be on a case-by-case basis. The 80% people would be people that might be on individual unemployability, or they're just at the 80% level, but they're working, and potentially they can always be reevaluated and decreased. And that was the whole reason to have them send in a tax abatement letter at least every 2 years for 80% and below. But everybody else is paid at the 100% rate. So would that mean that 80 to 100, excuse me, is paid the $1,000 tax credit?
So how I'd respond to that, Steve, is that however the VA classifies it, we're certainly willing and able to defer to you, Michelle, along with talking with Steve. And
Okay.
if it's appropriate, the ordinance is not supposed to limit that if it's supposed to be there. It's supposed to mirror that of the VA, right? And that was our dialogue that included that. So we've got that on the minutes. We'll make sure that gets taken a look at and has clarity before June 5th.
Okay. And then the other piece that I wanted to bring up for clarity was that it seems that if you were to reapply for this tax credit every 2 years, that seems like it'd be a major burden on some of our disabled veterans. It seems that if you increase, because you'll never decrease your disability percentage, right?
Oh, yes, you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All
You
right.
could.
Well, that answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. The only other thing was we were trying to bring, is the reason for getting that initial payment up to the $350 was to try to offset the cost of the sewer taxes. If you remember correctly, that was one of the arguments that I had brought up. I mean, technically, to cover the sewer tax now, you would have to get the $350 and be almost 20% disabled just to break even. And the fact that nothing has been brought up, like I say, since '73, and the form, which I imagine is still on the town website, has a block for a World War I veteran, and they haven't been around in a long time.
As far as we know, right?
Yeah, that's why I rewrote the forms, and that was what I had submitted initially. So I'm going to go look at my forms as well, and we can do it the June 5th.
I'm sure that we'll get
Would work
this
fine.
clarified.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank
I just have a...
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a quick question. Julie, I just have a quick question. I was just wondering when we have it, we could have some information on how this would impact the budget, so we just understand where.
It won't impact this budget because
Okay.
we're
already passed it.
processing
No, the upcoming,
fiscal 21.
Yes.
Sure. Well, those are the numbers Michelle just stated. It would be
Okay.
depending on what scenario we look at, it could be $100,000 or...
It would be the 100,000.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
It wouldn't be for that fiscal year. It would be starting this fiscal year,
No, it would be the following
21.
because we passed the budget already.
if
But
we
I'll tell
add
you what,
another-
if we could, just
If
for...
we were wrong, if this ended up being incorrect, then we'd have to find that,
I concur.
right?
I concur. So we have some points that need clarity, so if we could have those for the June 5th meeting, and including, we'll go through those minutes again. So we had a motion and a second, to continue to the June 5th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
The next item is Ordinance 2019-03, and this is the second reading for adoption to increase the number of BV licenses from 28 to 29.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption to increase the BV licenses from 28 to 29.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next item is Item C4, this is Ordinance 2019-04. This is effectively to change the name and the reporting structure of the Substance Abuse Prevention Task Force. Again, the second reading for adoption.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item C5. This is Ordinance 2019-05, and this is to clarify and amend the harbor parking zone for marina and ferry parking. This is the first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading for adoption.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is item C6, and this is Ordinance 2019-06. This is a companion ordinance to the previous one, which creates a fee structure that would be supported with a council resolution rather than an amendment to the town code for the ferry parking.
That's good.
So moved to approve first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Take a second here. You've maybe heard the council do this multiple times in the last couple of years. The benefit of what the clerk just said, which is right now some things are in fees that are an ordinance, which requires a first and second reading. There's cost involved in recording all of that. This change in this fee and other fees allows the council, obviously in public with a resolution, to change those fees without changing the ordinance. There's a cost savings. It also allows for quicker response to things, and that's where the benefit is of this. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item C7, and this is Ordinance 2019-7, and it is to implement local zoning for installation of a solar photovoltaic facility at the former Minturn Farm landfill. This is the first reading and call for a public hearing to take place on June 26, 2019. You have supplemental information provided by the Director of Community Development.
Motion to approve the first reading and call for a public hearing on June 26 of 2019.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the petition of Wang, doing business as Baba Sushi, 205 Thames Street, request council consideration for a vittling license.
Move that we grant.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the annual request for the annual Oyster Festival fundraiser to be held on June 16th. This requires a public hearing to be held on June 5th, so the motion at this point is to call for a public hearing to consider the matter on June 5th.
Motion to call for a public hearing on June 5th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Similarly, you have a request from the same festival for a one-day Sunday dancing and entertainment license for the 6th Annual Oyster Festival, and also permission to have food trucks in the vicinity of the event. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Motion to approve the request for a one-day Sunday dancing and entertainment license for the 6th Annual Oyster Festival fundraiser, June 16th, and to have permission to have food trucks on the premise, and it would go from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
That's a big motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm just trying to be...
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just trying to be clear.
It's appreciated. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item D5 is from the Bristol County Elks Lodge 1860, request council consideration for a bingo license for event to be held on May 16th, 2019. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Based on all the recommendations, I make a request to approve the bingo license for May 16th, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone here to do a 5-second commercial on this? No? General, I saw you sitting there, sir.
Mr. Chairman, once again, thank you for the opportunity to excel up here. But yes, we're raising funds for the Veterans Committee, so we're going to turn those monies back and support veterans in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is D6. This is the petition of Patricia Backus, also for Bristol County Elks Lodge 1860. Request council consideration for several one-day Sunday dancing and entertainment licenses for a period of time from July 1st through September 30th, 2019. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Interim Chief of Police.
Based on the recommendations, I move to approve it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the petition of Lisa Paulino, doing business as Panoni's, 553 Hope Street, requests council consideration for sidewalk use license. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, Code Compliance Coordinator, and Interim Chief of Police.
Based on the recommendations, I move that we approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would just add, as recommended by the Director of Public Works, that to make sure that the place is left clean and out of interference with the pedestrians.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, item D8 is the petition of Robert Gobin, doing business as Tattoos by Robert Gobin, 11 Gooding Avenue, second floor. Request council consideration for tattooing license. You have recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and Interim Chief of Police.
I know I'm consistent on this, but where's Halsey when we talk about
Yeah.
Is this a new tattoo or something?
If you don't know this, Halsey was not a big fan of tattoos, so there was always the one vote against.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll say sorry, Halsey, but I make a motion to approve the request for a tattooing license at 11 Gooding Avenue based on all the positive recommendations.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second, and Tim, I believe the owner appreciates that positive recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Just remember, you're sitting in his seat. You're welcome. Good luck.
Good luck.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item E1. This is the sidewalk use license renewals for the upcoming season. You have the recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Interim Chief of Police, Director of Public Works, and Code Compliance Coordinator.
Well, I'm glad the weather's turning better. We're getting warmer. I make a motion to approve the sidewalk use license renewals for 2019-2020 based on all the positive recommendations.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just want to say I'm happy to see that there's no violations after all the years we've been doing it. So it's good.
So true.
Good news.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And similarly, item E2 is the sidewalk alcohol service license renewals with recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Interim Chief of Police, Director of Public Works, and Fire Chief.
Again, glad to see that there were no violations. I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I will add that I think this has been wonderful. I think this is 4 years in, approximately, something like that. And the feedback from residents and non-residents has overall been extremely positive. So I'm happy to see it. So we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is item F1. This is the petition of Judy Tavares, 18 Ryan Avenue, request for accessible parking space. This is the second reading for adoption of this request. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, and Interim Chief of Police.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, item F2, you have the petition of Louis Cabral of Tiverton requesting the removal of an accessible parking space now extant at 27 Thompson Avenue. This is the first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And item F3, the petition of Joyce Formsano, 35 Catherine Street, request for accessible parking space, first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading for adoption.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Yes, there is. I'm looking at the placard, and it says that it expires May 2019. So it expires this month, so I'm a little unclear as to why there's a request if this is expiring this month.
Well, the individual hadn't had time to renew it, but and it was still valid at the time of the application. But obviously, someone who is using a spot with an invalid spot would be unsuitable. Seeing that this is first reading, if you'd like for the second reading, we can ask them to bring in the renewed
I would ask
placard.
so, please.
Sure.
Especially
Did you want to add something?
No, I just wanted to add, I concur. She has until the end of the month to renew that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
since you submitted this in April, so.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'm sorry, Lou. That was a motion and a second for first reading with the request for the new one, for the updated. Thank you.
We will do that. Okay. The next item is item F4. This is the petition of Emily Basanti for the Hydraulian Engine and Hose Company Number 1. Request permission to serve and sell alcoholic beverages at Independence Park for the Food Truck Festival to be held on September 21st, 2019. You have recommendations provided by the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, Fire Chief, Interim Chief of Police, and the Acting Director of Parks and Recreation.
Based on the recommendations, I move that we approve it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
This event is back. It's good. It's a good event.
Is that discussion?
Yep.
Mary's happy that it's back. I agree.
Did you miss it last year? You didn't have it last year, right? Yeah. It was
Chief, did you want to add anything? This is your 30-second commercial.
Yeah.
Chief,
No
15
rain.
love your serve,
Commercial
sir.
before
It's back
reports
to you.
again, too.
No rain, right? No rain.
The 30-second selling of the Food Truck Festival on September 21st, 2019. It's a great family fun event. Come down, enjoy the food truck vendors, look at some fire trucks, talk to some fire personnel, and enjoy the afternoon with your family.
Excellent.
Did you say the 30-second? Did I hear you correctly? I don't feel like that's truthful. So anyway, so
There was more like 45.
Is
I
that
was
what it is?
timing it,
Okay.
yes.
So we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item F5. This is the petition of Mary Kay Wright for Arts in Common, request to close portion of High and Wally Streets for the second annual Porch Fest music event to be held on September 15th, 2019. You have a recommendation provided by the Town Administrator and the Interim Chief of Police.
I move that we approve. I didn't actually go to the whole thing last year, but I did drive by, and it was really dangerous just having people crossing. You know, there were a lot of people around, and having cars driving through, I thought was a really dangerous situation. So I think it's good that they're requesting to close it.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes. Okay. Actually, I think she's asking from Wally to Constitution. As I recall last year, I'm not quite sure why she's extending to Constitution. I know they stopped at Union, so I'm a little unclear. Yes. I think that's a great idea. And by the way, I do suggest that we involve the police department or DPW if we're going to block the street to avoid any direct, traffic into the area. So
I'm Doug Popovich,
Welcome.
Arts in Common. Crew's here to do this. We have met with police twice. They're the ones who recommended the closure. We're extending a street because we're going to have 9 porches instead of 6, but we are still keeping it, and it's all in the packet on that first sheet. I think you got us a copy.
Right.
We are keeping it totally family-friendly. We're extending it to 3 hours, but it's really short. No food trucks. Just a 4-hour maximum closure. The police is going to close and open it back up, and we have a process in place where we notify all the neighbors and things like that. Because the only thing we didn't enjoy last year was worrying about people and cars, and so the police in talking about it said if you want to do it again, we really should close it. We understand the costs, and we have a funder for that, so that's why we're here. So we are looking to extend it a little, but let us know.
The other thing I want to say, living in a very busy part of town, I imagine that you are going to have, it'd be okay for people who live there to be able to come in and out if they have anything else, right? To be able to drive into their home area?
Yep.
Okay.
I thought you were going to ask to extend it to State Street to cover your part.
Got a lot of events we'll get a lot of events by that neighborhood, I'll tell you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any other discussion?
Well, Mr. Popovich, thanks for doing this. Thanks for planning this. I went last year, and I had so much fun over there, and I thought it was just such a unique thing that you guys were doing. And after talking to you guys about it a little bit, I learned, and I think it's good for our viewing audience to know that this was an idea that was kind of picked up from somewhere else. Like they were doing this in other parts of the country, and we said, hey, we can do the same thing in Bristol, and we can make it a Bristol thing. And so I'm looking forward to going to this again. It was a lot of fun last time.
Thanks. We have great porches, and like a lot of the neighbors said, it was better than 4th of July because we actually got to walk around.
Well,
and
let's
talk.
not push it.
And talk to people.
I know it's
Anyway,
good, but
I can see that.
So we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The next item is item F6. This is the petition of Nathan Avedisian, doing business as Classic Pizza and Grill, 349 Medicom Avenue. Request council consideration to create a new Class BV intoxicating beverage license. I'm also informed that this particular establishment, because of where it's located, would also need a special use permit. I'm sorry. This is a limited license, not BV. It should say BV.
Beer, wine.
Beer and wine.
Yeah, because that's what most of the other pizza places.
Lou, Mike, could you mentioned special use, so the process would be, well, what's the possible
Sure.
roads that
So
we
in
can
order to
take?
get the special use permit, they'd have to go to the zoning board and obtain zoning board permission for the special use permit before a liquor license could be issued by the town council. Now, you're not the only town that has these zones that does that, and the way it normally works is this, that you give an indication to the applicant if you're likely or not to grant a limited BV license, because there's expense involved in going through that whole zoning process, then to go through all that and then wind up back before you and maybe they won't get it. So what we do elsewhere, and I might suggest this here, is that you go through with your process. You could, if you decide to grant the license, you make it conditional upon obtaining the special use permit. That way it would be granted but not issued. Once the special use permit was put into place, then we would be able to issue the license.
And the next steps here for this council is we need to then have the potential ordinance change, first reading, second reading,
Exactly.
so the whole process. Okay.
That's what I would recommend.
All right. What's this council's pleasure?
Mike made it so easy for a motion, so I move we approve it.
Whatever I said, right?
Whatever Mike said? Yes. Can I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second to take the next step. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And finally, you have the petition of Stephen St. Pierre of the Bristol Police Department, requests financial support of $1,300 for the second annual Children's Leadership Camp, Bristol Youth Academy.
So Lieutenant St. Pierre reached out to me. I don't think he's here tonight. Chief, he reached out to me and said that the summer camp had been, I guess he called it wildly successful. I'm probably paraphrasing. But he had asked us last year, if you all recall, we approved $1,000. And he asked and obviously it's on our agenda for $1,300, to increase it this year so they can allow a couple of extra kids to take advantage of the program.
They were asking to, they were going to increase it to 40 children as opposed to, I don't know the exact number of how many they used last year, but from what I'm told, and it was a success. The officers loved it. I got calls and comments, I should say, from different parents, and on our Facebook page, they were excited to do this again. So we're asking for the council to increase the funding so we could have the 40 children. They do have a nominal fee. I think it's $45 for the camper for the whole week. So it was a successful program, and we're looking forward to doing it again this year.
So can I say,
I just think this is a great... Oh, sorry, Mary.
sorry,
Go
is this
ahead.
the week after your camp ends? And then Parks and Rec?
It is. We wrap up, and they would start that following Monday, the second full week of August. And having witnessed it last year, it was a great program. They're down at the sports complex in Town Beach, and I know they also venture out to the police station and do some fun things. And it's bringing together, the community and Bristol's finest.
It's good. I mean, it's good. Give them an extra week, too, the kids. That's great.
Well, I think that this is great. It's, essentially the $1,300 that we're paying for this comes down to $32.50 per child. It's about $8.13 per day that we're paying to make this an opportunity for them. And it's community policing. It's kids getting to know the police officers and police officers getting to know the kids. And I think that this is just a great opportunity for them. And I like to see the police department taking the lead on these types of things.
And the anti-bullying and the drug prevention, it's got a lot of benefits to the camp. So I'm definitely in support. So with that, I'll make a motion to... I'll second the motion, or third the motion.
I'll take a third.
One more question.
Please.
This is a little off the track, but have we also we haven't gotten a request that I recall from last year. The church, one of the churches, did a thing on the Common in the afternoons for a week or two, and I don't think the police sponsored it, but they were very actively there. Have you talked to anybody about that as well?
Not just yet. I'd have to check. There's quite a few permits that do come in for facility use, and I know there's a lot of different special events. And I'm wondering if this might be something that was tied in through HES last year.
Yeah. You remember
I
because it
can't
was on
look
for like
into
a week or two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Just the funds will be coming from our contingency fund?
Council
only
contingency.
Assuming, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where they came from last year, and I'm glad that you said that. Maybe we could, Chief, if we, in the future, maybe we can have that as an application also for part or all of it to come out of the human services part, and if we don't have the funds available, they are happy to take a look at it again next year, just like we did. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is the public service appointment section of your agenda. The first item is for the Capital Project Commission with term to expire in May of 2024. You have Don Hemond, who currently serves, seeking reappointment, and also the application of Charles Kellner, who has interest in serving on the board.
Move the reappointment of Don Heeman.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just want to say to Charles Kellner, listen, we want you to serve in some capacity. So please keep an eye out for any openings. I think you have a lot of skills to offer the town.
Definitely. Any other discussion? Concurred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're opposed? Yeah.
The next item is item G1B, and this is the Zoning Board of Review. We have a second alternate position available. Two applicants. We have not had the opportunity to have interviews yet.
I move that we schedule interviews with Elaine White and Michael Burns.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Oh, I know I sound like a broken record. I do this every single time, but I'm going to do it again. Thank you. Thank you to the boards, commissions, and those are not people. It's the people on the boards and commissions that give their time. A great example is the 4th of July committee. We don't appoint the 4th of July committee, but that's a great example of the willingness and effort that go back into the community. You know what I meant. We approve it. So I'm being told that we do, and everybody knew what I meant. Come on now. So
Your appointees.
there are appointees, so for clarity. But there are so many boards and commissions, and there are so many organizations that are directly connected with the town that make the town what it is. And this council and the administrator and the town in general say thank you. Thank you.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, we happen to have two individuals here from the Santa Cruz Feast. They are volunteering for one feast after another, so they're here with us this evening as well.
Thank you.
They're going to do their commercial later, when you have the other there?
I think so.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is under old business, continued from your April 17th meeting. This concerns the street light on pole 11-1 on Monkey Wrench Lane.
So I reached out to Director McBride last week and the administrator. This is still on order. So all the discussion we had about the skirt, is what we called it, right, is still on order. The LED streetlights have been in high demand. That's why things are just taking the time. So I propose to this council that we continue this, but refer to the administrator to inform this council when it's actually installed, so this doesn't stay on the agenda. I don't want it to go away, and we'll have a discussion about it when it's actually installed. So if the council's comfortable with it, if we have a motion to refer to the administrator and continue to the next meeting after its installation.
I concur, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to refer to the town administrator to inform us when we need to put it back on the schedule.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item I-1. This is from the Solicitor's Office regarding the Burrowville Power Plant litigation and the Superior Court decision.
This is just for informational purposes. The town of Bristol, along with every other town in the state that takes water from the Province Water Supply Board, was made a party to a suit in which the town of Burrowville and the Conservation Law Foundation sued the town of Johnson, saying they didn't have the right to resell water that they bought from the Province Water Supply Board. The court ruled that based upon the 1915 Act, that the individual cities and towns do have that right. This has not been appealed as of this point. The appeal period hasn't run yet. But it's really just, again, for information purposes, that communities do have the ability, if they so desire, to resell water that they purchase from Providence Water.
1915, more than 100 years ago.
Yeah, more than 100 years. Good point.
104 years ago.
Good point.
Well, it's interesting to see that law really stood the test of time from 1915. I know it's been amended in the 1980s, I saw, but my question for you, Mr. Solicitor, is did Johnson sell that water at a profit, or is there nothing in the law that would allow them to do that?
I don't know if that was ever determined, if they were selling it at a profit or at cost, and because it actually hasn't happened, obviously the power plant hasn't been built. Right. It's still going through all kinds of regulatory hoops. This was just one small hoop they had to get through, having the water supply. So.
So, Mike, this is for our information and receive and file?
Motion to receive and file.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item I-2 from the Treasurer regarding a recommended investment policy statement and quarterly reporting for endowments, bequests, and other specially designated funds.
Julie.
Yes. So this item and the next item on the agenda are both investment policy statements. They replace one investment policy statement that we have that's dated back to 2006. So it was just time to take a fresh look at them both, and or take a look at that one. It makes sense to break them into two because the first investment policy statement that we're discussing now is related to the endowments, bequests, and any other specially designated funds that can be invested in the market. So these are, some of them are stocks and bonds that were bequeathed to the town. There's an appendix at the end of the investment policy statement that gives you an idea of some of those donors that gave their money to the town. It also
Could you take a moment
Sure.
and share with the public an example of one of those
Certainly.
annuities and
Yes, so There's a John B. Herreshoff Fund, and this was to benefit the poor and sick widows in Bristol. And it's there's a will book reference, and it was $1,000 that was left to the overseers of the poor of the town of Bristol in trust to invest in the most safe manner and apply the interest annually to the support of the poor in Bristol. So the original $1,000 was invested in bonds. It's many, many items like this. Right now, the value of all of these bequests and endowments is close to $9 million. So the town is very, very fortunate to have these funds. I'm not sure how many other communities have such a generous endowment. Cool.
You know, one of the things when I read this, I mean, we're all familiar with some of them, you know what I mean, because we talk about them here, we use them, so forth. But when you read through, like, and I know they go back, you know, tons and tons of years ago, zillions of years ago, but when you look at the relatively small amounts of money, it was probably a lot in that time, but I mean, how that's grown over these years, that it almost makes it doable for a lot of people. Like, you know, you think you have to have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to give something to a town or to a charity like this. But when you see this, and I know, you know, I'm not even looking at the ones that are like in the 18, you know what I mean? But it's just like, wow, look at that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you did this now and then you looked 100 years from now.
Right, you know, how much they grow and how much.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Almost 9 million. I couldn't believe that.
Right. Yeah. And these funds are unique because they are invested in the market. So we do have an allocation to equities, an allocation to fixed income, which is unusual for towns because typically your general fund money or even your restricted fund money can't be invested that way. So that was really the reason I wanted to break it out into two separate, distinct documents. Investment policy statements, we have one for our post-employment benefits plan. We have one for our police pension fund. They are important documents. They really guide how you're investing the funds, who's responsible, how you're working with your investment managers, what type of reporting they're going to provide to you, what type of reporting I'm going to provide to the council. So part of this investment policy statement for the endowments, we work with Washington Trust Wealth Management, and they provided for me a new quarterly report, and I've received these reports periodically, but I have not forwarded them to the council to this point. So this is also kind of formalizing our current practices and putting a little bit more, providing the council and the record a little bit more information about the funds, which I think is only a good thing. So I also provided you a copy of the type of quarterly report that I'll be passing your way so that you guys can see how these funds are invested and how the investments are performing. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if I can't answer them, because it's not what I do every day either, so we can bring the Washington Trust Wealth Management investment advisor in. And she's really knowledgeable and a very good speaker. She's come with me to the North Burial Ground Cemetery Commission meetings before and provided them presentations on their investments. So it's a good resource. The document was reviewed by Mike Rosillo's office just to make sure that it was legally sound. We also used the Government Finance Officers Association. They have best practice documents, so I used that as a guide as well as referencing other communities and our base document from 2006.
Is there any questions for Julie?
Just a couple of comments. On page 2, from the beginning there, I like where it says standards of care and using the word prudent.
Yes.
That's quite interesting,
Yes.
which we do that very well here in the town of Bristol, obviously, and it's pretty evident. Then just looking at the packet there, you did mention, when you go through the client package there, or client focus, I'm sorry, page 10, it makes reference, as you already pointed out, equities and fixed income.
Yes.
Then also has cash.
Yes.
Okay. Can you clarify that a little bit?
Yes,
what does that mean when? I'm sure you don't have a little box with lots of money.
No, we have. So the investments typically have a little bit of cash in them, and oftentimes it's a function of the way that the securities are invested, or when you're trading and you have gains and losses. So there's typically a cash portion, but in addition, some of these funds are used for scholarships, and we get quarterly distributions off of the investments. They go into the general fund, and for example, we had the Narrows Association has a scholarship program. There's a couple of funds like that where we do have cash disbursements and the funds are being used. So the quarterly distributions come through, not on all of the funds, but they do. So there needs to be some cash liquid in these accounts. There are a couple of accounts like the Colt account and North Burial Ground previously, not any longer, but they provided funds back. The library construction account's another one. They provided funds back to the general fund to help pay debt service payments when those funds were initially set up for the school construction. So there's a lot of little nuancy, things that go with each one of the funds, and that's a reason to keep some cash in there. And I think the allocation is 2% is the target, but it'll fluctuate. So.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Julie? So, Julie, you've covered both documents well here. Well, I know we need a separate motion for each, but anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope, I think that covers this, what I'm calling the EBS funds. Oh, one other note is that the other nice thing about having this document and having it be separate is that if the council has a financial transaction in the future where there's a where the town comes into money for whatever reason, the council can decide that they want to take that money now and invest it in the market so that they can take the earnings off of it or take dividends. So this document gives a little bit of flexibility with respect to other specially designated funds. And I'm sure Mike can tell us how exactly to do that when the time comes. But it gives us a little bit more flexibility in that way.
Great. What's this council's pleasure on I-2?
So move to, do we have to
Adopt.
adopt it? Okay, to adopt it. And thank you for all your efforts on behalf of the town.
2 and 3.
Second?
I would add to the motion that the effective adoption date is May 15th.
Yes. So I had intended to bring this for the last council meeting. I realized today and pointed it out to Lou, but I had the last council meeting date of April 17th. But it's really adopted today, and I'll adjust that date on that document.
I'm good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, was there a second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Does the council wish to put a similar motion for I-3?
We do, I believe.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'll just add just a statement about this document.
Please.
Because it is very
Yes,
different.
it is.
These are for all of the other funds other than post-employment benefits, other than pension, other than, this is the bond money that comes in, the general fund tax dollars. If I have liquid funds that are not needed, I can invest them in CDs. I can invest them in insured cash sweep accounts, but they need to be fully collateralized. They need to be very secure. These are not funds that are at any risk. So that was the reason, really, to have a separate guiding document for this. But the process of preparation, using the GFOA best practice documents, referencing peers, having it reviewed by Mike, that all was in line with the other document.
Did I hear a motion and a second?
I had made a motion.
Excellent. So we have a motion and a second. Just discussion, just for clarity for the public again. That first I-2 that we were just talking about, the endowments, was in the human services portion primarily of the budget that we pass every year. And this is for OPEB, or post-employment benefits, other post-employment benefits.
No.
I'm reading it just from my agenda item.
The second one, it's for funds other than pension, post-employment benefits, and
I read that
EBS
incorrectly.
funds.
Thank you for the clarity.
Other than other
Sorry.
post-employment.
So everything that I did say other than that.
Double negative gets you every time.
Isn't that horrible? I meant not to do that. How's that? All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is item J1. This is from the Fire Chief regarding a request for authorization to proceed with purchase of grant-funded fireboat.
Chief?
Okay, so we received the port security grant last September in the amount of $380,000.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've been very lucky as a community to get, this is the second one in a row, so it's worked out well for us. We took some time to both do some site visits, look at different boats, also examine our mission and what we do out there on a regular basis, and identify some gaps that we needed to incorporate into the new design. So we spent a lot of time doing that. We're fortunate enough to address the issues of treating injured patients inside an enclosed area where it's protected, as well as providing fire suppression capability with this vessel. I was also fortunate enough to get a verbal commitment on another potential grant that'll help offset some of the equipment that goes on the boat. but I will wait till I get the paperwork before I can take that officially. And that's where we stand at this point. We're at a point to move forward with the vendor. We'd have to issue a PO, and that's what I'm looking for the approval for tonight.
So, Chief, I know that this was talked about a little while ago, and I know that you've taken some time, as you pointed out, to go to other communities and find those best practices, or maybe said another way, the double negative we were just talking about, stay away from those problems. Correct. So we don't repeat those issues and then have to deal with, because obviously there's costs that is covered, and I think I said congratulations, I'll say it again, $385,000 grant. Is just, it's impressive, and we seem to find a lot of success with those grants. So nice job to you and everyone who does those grants. There is cost involved with maintenance on this, and I know one of the things that you work with the administrator on was adjusting how many motors it had to save some. Could you speak to that just for a second?
So we looked at it, and I had to talk to the designer, because one of the concerns was because has fire suppression capability, so we're going to be able to flow up to 1,500 gallons per minute, making sure we have enough engine power so that the water is not pushing us across, and we can counterbalance that. So that was a concern initially. So we made some modifications to be able to essentially drop it down to the 2 engines, which is a significant cost savings as well. And they're very comfortable that will suit our needs for what we're going to do.
Chief, I just had a question in regards to training for skippers on the boat, or captains for that are going to navigate if we choose to move forward. And so this would be for next year. So what type of training is going to be involved for this?
Sure. So I look at this as a town-wide vessel. So there'll be collaborative training through multiple departments, not only ours. And there is the Narragansett Bay Marine Task Force has a training template that we'll use, where you basically start out as a deckhand, and you have to go through all the training all the way up to the point where you can operate a boat as a captain, and what they call a 6-pack license. So that'll take a little time.
It's an unfortunate name for operating a boat, a 6-pack license. My goodness.
I'm sure that came up.
That means not drinking a 6-pack.
I'm sure that came up before some of the things we deal with today. But some of that is incorporated into the grant. There is some training funding incorporated into the grant, and there is some another grant just came out that we're going to look at. Maybe we can jump on that and get additional training funding there. So for both the police department, fire department, harbor patrol, so we'll be able to put in that cross training and make the best use out of our stuff.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion? I'm sorry. What's this council's pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the authorization to proceed with the purchase of the grant-funded fireboat.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Good luck, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
The next item is item J2, and this is for the Prudence Ferry Dock Phase 2 pier repairs. That is going to be put off for one meeting so the council can make a motion to continue.
Do you need a motion to continue? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue to our next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item J3, and your supplemental paperwork, it's actually marked J1 erroneously, but it's for bid 906 for the compost marketing program. And you did receive one bid from AgriSource Incorporated of Raleigh, Massachusetts, with the agreement to provide 62% of the net proceeds back to the town.
I'm just curious to know a little bit more about this.
Me too.
Could
you
somebody elaborate?
Jose?
So is this actually selling the compost?
As you know, as the council knows,
I think you're on.
Okay. As the council knows, we produce biosolid compost. We mix sludge with pretty much 1-to-1 with the yard waste, and we have a marketable product, but we are not ourselves into marketing. So we do put this bid out there. The company comes in, and they find an outlet for it. It's tough to put it on a price on it, so they go to different markets, introduce it, and then if it's favorable and they like it, they increase the price, and we get 62%. prior to this arrangement, we did have a set price, and it was immovable, so we were very limited, and depending on the market conditions and with new people coming out composting, this has served us well.
Okay. Is this the same company that we've had previously?
Yes, it's just that the prior contract ran its course, and it was time to put it out to bid again.
Okay, so they rebid it then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just need a motion?
So it says... Oh.
No, please. No, please.
I would make a motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interests of the town and work with the Jose as well, water pollution department head.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Discussion?
That's what I was waiting for. So, Jose, you said 62% of the sales come to Bristol, or 62% of the sales go to the marketing company?
62 come to Bristol.
Okay, so I just noticed that the bid amount says 62% per yard. So would it be 38% per yard for the individual?
Yes.
Yep.
They would get 38%.
Okay. So I don't know if that needed to be.
Lou, did you hear that clarity? He was just wanting to make sure. Aaron was pointing out that it looks as though they're requiring us to pay them 62 cents.
Yeah,
the way it was written. It's just the way that this is.
It was a little unusual for the when the deputy was. I don't think she really understood what was happening with this. But that's the way that I said it is what happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, great.
So we have a motion and a second to refer the administrator to act in the best interests of the town. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item J4 is for the road resurfacing project, and that is bid 907. There were 6 bids received. The first from D'Ambra Construction of Coventry in the amount of $1,875,263.50. The second from Cardi Corporation of Warwick in the amount of $1,604,798.50. The third is Narragansett Improvement Company of Providence in the amount of $1,723,350. The fourth is East Coast Landscaping and Construction Incorporated of Portsmouth in the amount of $1,972,500. The fifth is J.H. Lynch and Sons of Cumberland in the amount of $2,999,900. And the final is Pawtucket Hot Mix Asphalt Incorporated of Pawtucket in the amount of $2,135,000.
So, Mr. Administrator, I'm not going to steal your thunder on this one, but I am going to remind everybody that what we budgeted. Well, actually, I'm not even going to do that. Would you share what did we budget and what does this look like?
The engineering consultant came in with a quote of 2.3, and that was with a contingency involved. So this came in much less with at least one or two of the contractors.
So a tremendous difference. $2.3 million is what we budgeted. 1.6 was the lowest bid here. So this is a tremendous difference.
So can we get more roads done?
I asked the same thing, Mary.
Change it, and what's the answer?
Because it's all engineered.
They're engineered and they're bid out now, but there's oftentimes we'll have some small jobs that come up as part of these streets. There's 23 streets that we're doing. It's unprecedented. So we're trying to catch up, and so this money can certainly be used for next year's paving.
Excellent.
We're going to keep trucking.
So we're going to just carry that money over for this purpose then? Hopefully. It's by the bond.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What's this council's pleasure?
Motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is for bid 908. This is item J5, and it was for the stationary biosolids mixer. You have one bid from Padula Brothers Incorporated of Lancaster, Massachusetts, in the amount of $130,000.
So do we go out to bid on these? I just have a question when we only get one. Do we, what's the...
We can negotiate with them because there's one.
Okay, great. Yep. Okay.
Yes. What's this council's pleasure?
Refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, the individual council member agenda item. Did you want to take those, or do you want to take the...
We're going to go to
Mine,
The
so we have
HHs?
two folks here.
we have HH 15.
HH 15 is an invitation to participate in the Santo Cristo festivities, June 21st through 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Medeiros and Mr. Broom. They're here. I'm not sure if they were here specifically because of this, the invitation, but actually we did not have a chance to chat with each other, but I just thought it would be nice to recognize that. So would you like to come up and say anything on this?
Bet you didn't know you were going to say something.
Yes.
You can give a commercial.
Good evening. As a matter of fact, I only saw John Medeiros' name here, which is the president of Santa Cristo, and I'm Fernando Broom, and I'm the president of the United Brotherhood of the Holy Spirit and of Holy Trinity of St. Elizabeth, which I thought was going to be and my name on it, and for different weekends.
Okay.
So on the weekend of June 8th, we're going to have, starting at 7 o'clock, we're going to have the Livestock Auction. And on the weekend of June 14, 15, and 16, we're going to have our feast, which opens up on the Friday with the entertainment and for Portuguese food and American food all weekend. And the Saturday we're going to have our traditional boot late that we called it, and it's going to come out of Guterres School through High Street, Franklin Street, and the Wood Street to the church. And also on the Sunday we're going to have our traditional feast from starting at 9 o'clock. It coming out of Gil's TV's parking lot down to Bayview, and then into Wood Street, into the church for 10:30 Mass. After Mass, we're going to do a little procession, which is going to take Wood Street, Franklin Street, High Street, Bayview, into Wood Street, and the church auditorium will be served all the traditional Holy Ghost soup for everybody as well.
Which is excellent, by the way. It really is. Yeah.
And after that, we're going to have proceed with our feast, which probably will end at 10 o'clock with the entertainment. So, but my thing, it was, I don't know if it's under Mr. Medeiros' name, the both applications, or just by
Next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
It'll be on our next meeting. The clerk just pointed out to me.
Okay.
Yes.
So, next meeting will be
June 5th.
June 5th.
So well before you need your approval.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank
But you don't need to come back, well, unless you want to make another commercial. I mean,
Can I just make a quick question? So I'm just confused here. So are you moving Santo Cristo back to,
that's the Holy Ghost and
The Holy Ghost. but isn't,
There's
but,
two different feasts.
no, I know, but didn't they weren't they doing one of them in September?
Oh, yes, but no
You moved
longer.
it back to June, right? You moved from
Yes.
September back to June?
Can I say something?
Of course. State your name for the
Next
record, if you
meeting,
would.
If I drop the three applications at the same time,
Could you repeat the question?
why is next meeting the Holy Ghost supposed to be first? I dropped the three applications at the same time.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know that we have more than enough time to make sure all the approvals will happen. Lou, could you?
I'll have to look. I mean, I know that there's no issue with timing. We may have even approved that at the last meeting.
We can get you clarity on it, but you don't have to bring any. If you dropped off all the paperwork already, then there's nothing else
Yeah,
that
we
you
did
need
drop.
to do.
We did drop because the Santa Cruz is the last feast from our church. Is the 23rd.
And there's more than enough time to make sure the approvals. If
That's
there's-
the one. That's the one we got it now, but we should get the other ones first.
So I
Because
don't disagree with you.
May 8th, we have one already.
So
But
John, how
you-
many are you having? You're having 3 in June?
Well, we
or
have
2?
three. We have
3 weekends.
3 weekends? Okay, so you got Santo Cristo on the end of...
Santa Cruz is on the 23rd.
Yeah, the 23rd, that weekend.
Then you go
and
2 weeks
you've got
back.
the 14th, 15th, 16th for one of the Holy Ghosts. You just have one Holy Ghost now, right? So
Yeah,
what is
but-
on June 8th then?
Yeah, but we have the first weekend. Fernando's has that's when they sell the animals, the stock, the livestock.
Oh, so you're having it like over 2 different weekends for that one?
Right.
feast. Okay, I got it.
But that's what I don't understand. If I drop them off, all the 3 at the same time, why we don't have the 3 here?
So, John, we'll make sure that if there's any approvals that are necessary for you, have no fear. We'll make sure that they'll be in front of us, and if there's something that we need to do before that, I don't believe we do. I think June 5th should be okay. If it's not, and we need to take extra steps, it's okay. We'll make sure it gets done.
Thank you.
Of course.
But we'll be just fine, though. We can assure you that. Okay? So thank you for your volunteerism, always.
Thank you.
So I need a motion to... Do you need any action on that one, Lou, or just receive and file? Yeah. Perfect.
Motion to receive and file?
Second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the following is HH 17 regarding the Firemen's Memorial and Welfare Committee invitation to attend.
And the only reason why I pulled this so that we can get a little coverage, and I would ask the chief to actually talk about this, the Fire Memorial and Welfare Committee's the event that will be coming up, yes, it will be coming up in June.
Yeah, this is our annual event held the second Sunday in June for the past several years. And really, it's just to pay tribute to those that came before us and to celebrate the department as we look to the future.
It's always a nice event.
It's great.
Thank you, Chief. Receive and file, please.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And now we're back to the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman.
Did everybody have a nice Mom's Day?
Yeah.
I know I did. I'm not a mom, but I get to spend time with my mom and with my wife, who's a mom, and other moms out there. It's a nice day, and I hope you had a nice and wonderful. Everybody here that's a mom or has one. I think everybody has a mom, right? Okay. Well, I hope you had a nice Mom's Day. And I'm going to keep my comments, because it was a nice short meeting, so will my comments be short. Have a good night, everybody.
Mr. Sweeney.
Well, get out your dancing shoes. Believe it or not, the 4th of July ball is right around the corner, and those tickets are on sale, and they go fast. I just want to remind everybody, it's a fun event. Get a chance to hit the dance floor with the council and town administrators, so it's got some good moves to show everybody. Just want to let everybody know it's going to be at the Herreshoff Museum, 1 Burnside Street. Tickets are $125, but you can email the Bristol 4th of July at gmail.com, or you can call them at 401-655-1436. Better yet, just go out to their website, 4th of July website. We'll have everything there. But these tickets go out fast. It's a fantastic event, so I hope you guys can all join. I know Chairwoman Fran O'Donnell is here, so hope I hit. I don't know if you have any other events you wanted to give a quick commercial on or not, but I know things are ramping up, and we're looking forward to the fun times.
Steve, that sounded like a challenge, just so we're clear. So, all right.
A little dance-off, Steve?
All right.
My wife, Kristen, tries to keep me in line, so...
Barely, Steve. Just barely. She try so hard. So.
Anyway, have a good night. Thank you.
Mr. Texera.
Happy belated Mother's Day. That's my wish. I know my wife made sure she reminded me as I left the house. Don't forget to wish all the mothers, grandmothers, godmothers, hopefully they had a wonderful, but every day is a Mother's Day. So wish the best. Good night.
Ms. Perella.
Thank you. Well, coming up on this is also, I don't think we have a meeting before Memorial Day, and that will be another parade and festivities that day. So on the Monday, and starting with up at the North Burial Ground and then coming downtown. So people should join in and participate, because it is an important day. And the other is I just want to extend congratulations to the Roger Williams University graduates who will be graduating. Kids will be graduating this weekend. My nephew's getting his master's, believe it or not.
Congratulations.
So on Friday, yep. So it's like now he's going to have to go on and get a job, right?
No, not really. No, you can work on your doctorate. So.
Yeah. No, congratulations, Greg. So.
That's it.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Mr. Lay.
Yeah, congratulations to all the graduates. And so last week was a pretty awesome week for us, I know, and I hope I'm not stealing the town administrator's thunder by talking about this, but we do have, and I saw the press release today that the Bristol, the ferry will be coming here from Newport and making stops on the weekends. And one of the reasons why I'm stealing your thunder is because I don't think that the town administrator would have said this himself, but I actually read the Public Utility Commission's order. Yeah, I do that kind of thing. So in my spare time, I read the order, and I noticed that the town administrator was quoted as advocating for the town to make sure that that ferry came over here. And so we have to keep in mind that there's people that are out there advocating for us. And then there's been a lot of other town council members, I think, in the past, and some who've sat on this council right now, who were major advocates for the ferry. And so we need to keep in mind that this was a pretty special time, and a lot of work went into this. In addition to that, I just want to say a little something. I did vote against one of the members who was applying for the commission today, and it wasn't because I disagree with the person or anything like that, but I think one of the things that helps me the most when I'm looking at these various commission members or the people that want to serve the town is sometimes when there might be a resume submitted or a CV or something like that, so we can see a little bit more about people's background and everything like that. And I know some of the people that do want to serve and volunteer spend a lot of time putting that kind of stuff together. And so it's important for me to see that kind of stuff, and it's not because I have an axe to grind or anything like that. So thank you very much.
Town administrator agenda items.
Did he steal your thunder?
That was fast.
Yeah.
Oh. Last meeting, I think there was some unfinished business regarding the Silver Creek Bridge, and we had stated that I was having a meeting, actually the chairman was also with me, at DOT on April 23rd. It was with a number of engineers, DOT, governor's office, representatives, state senators that were in attendance. And shortly after, I took a strong position on the timeline of when the bridge was going to be closed down, the Silver Creek Bridge. And the main concern and what should be most important after listening to everything was the safety of our school children. And I think that comes first. And, you know, I'm speaking for the fire chief, the police chief, and there is no good time to close the bridge, but I think with some help from the community, from DOT, I think we're going to get through this bridge closure next year. It's an expedited closure. They're hoping to have it opened up before school starts when traffic gets heavy. So I really think, I'm being optimistic, but knowing the town, I think we're going to survive this, and I think the town is going to do just fine. The good news that Councilman Lay stated is part of this, and that ferry, I have a hunch that one of the reasons why we got the ferry here to land in Bristol was because the bridge was going to be closing. So I think we really need to work together to make sure that this ferry landing is successful, so we can ask for more frequent stops next year when the bridge is closed. There's 149 passengers. It's been a sellout. We're in one of 3 communities, Newport, Providence, and Bristol. They have surveys that show how much money each per passenger spends in the community, and we're such a great location to have a second ferry. You know, it can be a hub for our bike path, a hub for Prudence Island and that ferry, and it's going to benefit the downtown greatly. So, Chris Vitale, our Economic Development Coordinator, has been working with DOT. We're working on brochures to get out to the passengers when they land. We're going to use the Maritime Center, so it's going to be a really great thing for the town, and I think we're on the right track. But the bridge closure can't separate the town. It needs to keep us together, and there's been a lot of dissension. I firmly believe that we're going to get through it, and 2 years from now, it's going to be a new safe bridge, and we're going to move forward from there. But the bridge needs to get repaired, and our children need to make sure that we can access our schools. So that's first and foremost for us. So I really wanted to say that I feel very strongly about that. Some other things I'd like to comment on is some of the infrastructure work in town. Ferry Road, the permanent patchwork has been done for the utility work and the drainage for our sewer treatment plant. August, there'll be final paving, curb to curb, Ferry Road and Fairview. Tanyard Brook is wrapping up. They're in restoration now, Phase 2. I was there today, and by June, that should be all done and paved. The last thing I have is I just want to say thank you to our law enforcement officers here in Bristol, but nationwide. It's Law Enforcement Memorial Week, and I just want to say that thank you. They're out there day and night. While we're sleeping, they're up and they're watching our homes and our properties, and I just want to say thank you to our law enforcement. That's all I have.
I just have a question regarding the Tanyard Brook. Where are we going to stop at this point?
The main culvert is in, and it stops just on the north side of Richmond Street. So it goes from the south side of Garfield Avenue to Richmond Street. So the last phase would be Richmond Street to State Street, which is the reservoir. Yeah. But we're in good shape. All the storm drains are in. It's working. And again, they were doing curbing today.
Good. Thank you. No, it was just a little unclear because I've seen them going through Richmond, but I wasn't sure how far through they would go on, if they were getting too close to Catherine or not.
No, they stopped, I would say, 15 to 20 feet north of Richmond Street, and they tied in. They had to form in place a concrete connector to connect to the stone tan yard, which is the old. So they're going from concrete to stone. And, so they made a good, durable connection.
Super. Thank you. Okay. I just need a motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Excellent. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Oh.